everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Clara and today let's talk about unflat-chested.
As much as the internet loves watching lolcows dig their own graves, Clara's downfall is one of the saddest and most tragic to witness. Why? Because for a brief moment, she was actually a force for good in the cesspool of social media. She wasn't just another vapid influencer. She gave people confidence, encouraged them to be authentic, and made them feel comfortable in their own skin. But that was then. Now, that credibility's in the dirt. And the only person responsible for this spectacular fall from grace is Clara herself.
I'm a naturally skinny person. I have never gained weight since my adult life.
Clara built her platform as a body positivity activist, and her niche was as rare as it gets. She advocated for extreme skinniness in a space dominated by plus-size discourse. She had a unique body type, and people gravitated toward her message. But here's the problem. The very thing that made her relatable and accepted later turned out to be a lie she was pushing on purpose. But soon enough, the truth started creeping out. She was deliberately starving herself to maintain her frail appearance, despite the fact that her weight was objectively unhealthy.
Hungry, and I only eat when I'm really hungry. I often don't remember to eat unless I really feel it in my stomach and I'm like, oh my god, I'm hungry. And then I realize that, oh, it's like 7 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything all day. That hunger, I just don't experience it.
And of course, when people started calling her out, she did what every exposed influencer does. She doubled down. She swore up and down that she ate tons of food but just couldn't gain weight. Sure, Clara, totally believable. That is, until she accidentally let it slip that she doesn't eat until 7 p.m. most days. So which is it? Do you eat all the time and stay magically underweight, or do you fast for most of the day? The math ain't mathing. But that's just one side of the mess. Clara also brands herself as a feminist and women's rights activist. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But then she took things to a disturbing level, making jokes about how domestic violence against men is okay. And no, this wasn't just some dumb internet controversy blown out of proportion. This was straight up vile. Look, we've all seen certain so-called feminists completely miss the point of feminism, turn it into a men-hating club. That's not new. But outright promoting violence? That's a whole different level of messed up. And the fact that Clara, someone who once preached body positivity and self-love, is the one doing it, that makes it even crazier. Her longtime fans, the ones who supported her when she was actually standing for something meaningful, felt completely betrayed. Meanwhile, everyone else was furious, calling her out for the hypocrisy. And after all the backlash, you'd think she would at least delete the post, right? Nope. She left it up, which tells us one thing. She meant every word. But believe me when I say this is just the tip of the iceberg. Clara's hypocrisy isn't just a one-off incident, it runs much deeper. And if you thought this was bad, buckle up, because we're about to uncover just how twisted the so-called body positivity advocate really is.
Uniquely us. We are so uniquely ourselves. And that's what makes us beautiful. It's not the facial feature. It's not your body. It's not any of that external stuff. It's what you have inside of you. And even what you have outside of you, it is unique. What you have is unique.
Clara Dao is a 26-year-old influencer with a jaw-dropping 4 million subscribers on YouTube and another 3 million followers on TikTok. Though she's currently living in Toronto, she was born and raised in Vietnam. Unlike most influencers who stumbled into fame, Clara had a pretty structured path leading up to her online career. She attended a high school specialized in foreign languages, which later set the stage for her move to Canada as a student. Once she arrived, she completed college and even snagged an honorary BA in art, a sign that she at least cared about her education. But let's be real, her true passion was never school. It was social media, specifically YouTube. She had always dreamed of being a YouTuber, but for the longest time, she didn't take the plunge. That is, until heartbreak struck. A devastating breakup during her 3rd year of college finally pushed her to start posting. At first, her videos, starting from her first upload on February 4th, 2019, were just standard life advice, nothing out of the ordinary. But then almost out of nowhere, she dropped the video that changed everything, I am flat-chested.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Clara and today let's talk about boobs. I'm flat-chested and as you can see, if you picture my chest like a LCD TV screen or an ironing board, that's basically how my chest looks like. But you know what? I love it.
That single video went insanely viral and flipped her channel's trajectory overnight. From that point on, Clara's entire brand revolved around her flat chest. Occasionally, she'd throw in content about being skinny, but let's be honest, her entire persona became the flat-chested girl. And just like that, the beginning of the end had arrived. In that now iconic video, Clara got vulnerable, talking about her deep-rooted insecurities about her tiny chest and how she eventually learned to celebrate it. It was a fresh take in the body positivity space, which typically focuses on fat shaming rather than the struggles of being super thin. Her message resonated with thousands of women who felt unseen, and for a while, she was seen as this beacon of hope and self-love.
Doing the inner work is hard. Facing your fear and insecurities head-on takes courage and compassion to come to terms with whatever you're insecure about. Now I'm totally comfortable and confident with how I look. I love wearing tops like this, or bralettes, tank top, V-neck shirt, you name it. It's interesting that once you learn to love something that you used to feel so insecure about, you just want to show it off more and more. I love my breasts, I love my boobs, I love my chest so much. And
for years, Clara had tried everything to hide her chest. Push-up bras, baggy clothes, you name it. But in 2018, she considered breast augmentation, only to decide against it after realizing it might do more harm than good. That's when she claimed to have had a major epiphany. She would accept her body as it is and encourage others to do the same. Sounds great, right? It would be if she didn't contradict herself in the exact same video by casually mentioning that guys actually like girls with small boobs.
in regards to guys' opinions, I want to assure you that there are a lot of guys who love small boobs or flat chest. In fact, if you're a guy who's watching this video and you love small breasts or don't mind it at all, drop a comment down below and show us girls some love. To be honest, a lot of guys don't even care that much. To them, they all titties.
So which is it, Clara? Do we not need anyone's validation? Or are we supposed to feel better because guys secretly like it? You can't preach self-love while also reassuring your audience that men approve of your body. That's not empowerment. It's just seeking approval in a roundabout way. And the contradictions don't stop there. Claire built an entire platform on body positivity, preaching acceptance and self-love. Yet it's painfully obvious that she's had cosmetic procedures done. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting work done if that's what makes someone happy, but when your entire brand is built on embracing your natural self while secretly altering your appearance, that's not body positivity, that's straight up hypocrisy. These inconsistencies haven't exactly gone under the radar. Her comment sections are flooded with criticism, and the backlash just keeps piling up. But out of all the controversies she's been caught up in, nothing has earned her more ridicule than her tone-deaf attempt to weigh in on the tragic death of Mahsa Amini. When Mahsa Amini's death sparked global outrage, people showed solidarity in powerful ways. Women across the world cut off large chunks of their hair. Some even shaved their heads in a bold act of protest. But then there was Clara, who somehow thought the best way to honor Mahsa's memory was by trimming her split ends and fake crying. Yes, seriously.
And if somebody hurts you, I wanna fucking, but my accent broke on so many times. So I use my voice, sorry, so what's they always win. But I know what all the things that I sing us is all at an age of stars. So I sang the thing on until when the love are. And I'll sing, hold what I don't because of my tears. That is done on enough time. I'm not alone. About something it's been a star of proud. But not at all. The only thing is some is done. Oh,
While Iranian women were literally risking their lives in protest, Clara sat in front of a mirror, casually snipping at a few barely visible strands of hair, fake crying like she was auditioning for a low-budget soap opera. And when I say fake, I mean fake. The exaggerated expressions, the forced sobs. It was so over the top that it almost felt like she was trolling. The backlash was instant. People saw right through her and called her out for making a global tragedy all about herself. But instead of taking the criticism seriously, she doubled down, insisting that her little hair trimming stunt was still spreading awareness, as if awareness alone magically fixes everything. Classic Clara move. But if you think her hypocrisy ends there, buckle up, because her contradictions go way deeper. One of the clearest examples, her stance on privacy, specifically when it comes to her relationships. In a Q&A video, she confidently told her audience that she'd never reveal her romantic life because she wanted to keep it private.
Am I seeing anyone? My relationship status? My answer to that question is, it's a secret. Over time, my mindset has changed a lot, and now I'm at a place where I like to keep that part of my life private because I do share a lot already on my channel. Of course, I always try to be authentic as much as possible. So yes, whether I'm single or I'm in a relationship, it will remain a secret.
Sounds reasonable, right? Well, it didn't take long for her to completely contradict herself. Not only did she introduce her boyfriend Javi to the world, but she went all in, creating an entire couples channel that blew up overnight. So much for keeping things private. And that's just another chapter in Clara's ever-growing book of hypocrisy. Now let's shift gears and talk about what she claims to stand for: body positivity and self-acceptance. To be fair, when Clara first started, her content wasn't toxic. In fact, it was actually inspiring. Her unique body type brought attention to an often overlooked group, the naturally underweight. Body positivity has always been dominated by the fight against fat shaming, leaving those who struggle with skinny shaming completely ignored. Clara stepped in and gave them a voice. Many people didn't even realize skinny shaming was a thing until she started making videos about it. And undeniably, she helped a lot of people who face insecurity and ridicule simply because they were visibly underweight. But then fame happened. And if there's one thing we've seen time and time again, it's that clout changes people. The sincerity that once made Clara relatable started to fade. Her content shifted from being genuinely impactful to feeling more like an aesthetic-driven performance. What once felt like an authentic message slowly turned into just another influencer cashing in on a niche. And that was the beginning of the end. For years, Clara swore up and down that she was naturally skinny. She insisted that no matter how much she ate, she just couldn't gain weight. And for a while, people believed her. But as time went on, little cracks started showing, and soon enough, the truth wasn't so easy to ignore. But the real moment that shattered everything, the moment when Clara Dao accidentally exposed herself in a way no one saw coming. In a video that sent shockwaves through her audience, titled "The Surprising Habit That Keeps Me Skinny," Clara dropped a bombshell. She casually admitted that she doesn't eat until she really feels it in her stomach. In her own words, she could go until 7 p.m. without eating at all.
Not hungry, and I only eat when I'm like really hungry. I often don't remember to eat unless I really feel it in my stomach. I'm like, oh my god, I'm hungry. And then I realize that, oh, it's like 7 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything all day. That hunger, I just don't experience it.
So let's get this straight. She's spent years preaching that she's just naturally skinny, that her body just works that way, and that no matter what she eats, she can't gain weight. But then she turns around and admits that she straight up starves herself for most of the day? You see the problem here? Because everyone else did. This isn't just some quirky eating habit, this is textbook starvation. And she didn't say this with any kind of awareness or caution. She said it as if it was some secret hack for staying skinny. And this time, not only were her haters talking, but her fans were too. The very person who built her brand on body positivity and loving yourself had just admitted that she was deliberately starving herself. And she didn't stop there. She framed it as something that kept her skinny, as if it were a good thing. The thing that makes this even more shocking is that she said she is naturally skinny and never gained any weight for years, 1 minute earlier in the same video.
I'm a naturally skinny person. I have never gained weight since my adult life. I've never have to worry about my weight. I've never have to worry about what I eat. I feel healthy. If skinny privilege is a thing, I can be called a skinny legend. These are the habits that make me stay at this weight for the past 10, 15 years.
If that's not ironic, I don't know what is. And of course, the internet did not let this slide. People started dissecting her words, analyzing her past statements, and what they found was even more disturbing. Because if Clara had always been this restrictive with food, then what did that say about everything else she claimed? The comment section erupted. "You're not naturally skinny. Not eating until 7 p.m. is crazy. I'm a naturally skinny person." Proceeds to starve herself till her stomach hurts, LMAO. Claire, if you care about maintaining trust in your fan base, please consider removing the video. This doesn't justify promoting possibly unhealthy eating habits to youth who already struggle with similar issues. She has balls for not deleting this. Beyond the glaring issues of authenticity and credibility, this video raises an even more serious concern: the dangerous impact it could have on her audience. Clara's followers are mostly young girls, many of whom likely struggle with body image and weight-related insecurities. And yet, the advice she gives in this video isn't just bad, it's outright harmful. What makes this even more ridiculous is that Clara herself knew how toxic her message was. She even slapped on a disclaimer, warning people with eating disorders not to watch. But what's the point of a disclaimer when the entire video is essentially a guide to self-starvation? It's like handing someone a loaded gun and saying, "Hey, don't shoot yourself," before walking away. If she really believed her words were dangerous, why say them at all? As if all this wasn't bad enough, Clara doubles down and claims that she has read a lot of books about food and nutrition, insisting that what she advises is safe.
Go 1 or 2 days or even longer without food. That's how we have evolved. And trust me, I have read a lot about this. I have learned and educated myself a lot about health and fitness and nutrition. So I can speak about this with confidence that this is healthy.
But here's the thing. Reading a few books on nutrition doesn't suddenly make someone an expert, especially when their actions completely contradict the most basic principles of health. She's effectively endorsing a harmful eating pattern, one that nutritionists and doctors explicitly warn against. And yet Clara presents it as some kind of enlightened knowledge, rather than an alarming sign of disordered eating. Besides the sheer danger of this advice, there's something uniquely bizarre about Clara's entire stance, which becomes obvious if you've been following her content for a while. She fundamentally misunderstands body positivity. She confuses it with being blind to existing problems, particularly when it comes to her own severely underweight condition. Instead of addressing this reality, she acts as if it's completely normal, or worse, something to be proud of. And she's not just ignoring the issue, she's bragging about it. This is blatantly clear in most of her recent videos. While embracing self-love is crucial, there's an important distinction between acceptance and deliberate neglect. True body positivity isn't about pretending everything is fine, it's about acknowledging reality while striving for a healthier, more confident self. But Clara, she takes self-love to such an extreme that it starts to look more like self-deception. This kind of message is particularly dangerous considering her primary audience, young, impressionable teenage girls. Many of them already struggle with insecurities, and now their once inspiring role model is indirectly telling them that skipping meals is fine, even desirable. What happens when they take this message to heart? When they follow her example, thinking that starvation is the key to self-love? And the worst part, Clara knows she has influence. She knows the power her words hold. But instead of using it responsibly, she continues to feed this toxic cycle. And trust me, this is only the beginning of Clara Dao's unraveling. And as more people started putting the pieces together, things only got worse for Clara. Because once you start digging into her contradictions, you realize it's not just about food. It's about everything she's ever said. And the more you look, the more you realize that the facade she's built is starting to crumble. And it's not stopping anytime soon.
Processed food from the grocery store. What I mean by processed food is basically anything in a package with the ingredients that I don't understand.
Although it's true that processed foods aren't exactly the best for you, they're definitely not as bad as not eating at all. But that's exactly what Clara is pushing. She promotes the idea of starving yourself until you really feel it in your stomach. Basically, waiting until you're practically collapsing from hunger before eating. This isn't just bad advice, it's straight up reckless. And if that wasn't enough, you can literally see her bias in these videos. She clearly looks down on people who've gained even a little weight. Now imagine what she must think of someone who's actually fat. The irony here? Clara Dao positions herself as some kind of body positivity advocate, but she's really just playing favorites, praising her own body type while subtly putting down others. But here's where it gets really funny. Clara tries to present herself as being in a normal body shape, casually giving out advice on not getting too fat. Yet she's not even in a healthy weight range herself. Her entire philosophy is built on the idea of love your body, but the second she starts talking about food and weight, that message completely crumbles. At the end of the day, Clara has no credibility when it comes to talking about health and weight. She's actively promoting unhealthy habits while pretending to be an authority on the topic. And that's pure hypocrisy. And just when you think Clara's contradictions couldn't get any worse, she hits us with this gem. She preaches that beauty isn't about physical appearance at all, that we shouldn't even focus on our looks. Sounds nice, right? But then in the same breath, she makes sure to remind everyone that she's pretty and tells those who see themselves as ugly not to dismiss her advice just because of that.
You may even look at me right now and think that, oh, it's easy for you to say because you're pretty. Like, I want you to stop saying that. Okay, yes, I am pretty.
So which is it, Clara? Does physical beauty matter or not? Because if it truly didn't, she wouldn't feel the need to constantly reinforce her own attractiveness while pretending to uplift others. It's just another layer of her endless hypocrisy, claiming to promote self-acceptance while subtly making it clear that she's the standard. And just like that, the contradictions keep piling up. Clara tells her audience not to fixate on a single body part, not to let one feature define their confidence. A reasonable message, if only she actually followed it. Because in reality, she's spent years making video after video obsessing over just one thing, her chest. By her own admission, she's flat-chested, and she never misses a chance to remind people of it. Now, if she truly believed in not caring about individual body parts, why does she keep making it the entire theme of her content? It's clear that she's still insecure about it, which honestly wouldn't even be an issue. Everyone has insecurities, but what is an issue is how she pushes a message of confidence and self-acceptance while doing the exact opposite. She tells others to embrace their bodies as they are, yet she's built an entire career fixating on what she lacks. At this point, it's impossible to ignore. Her brand isn't about empowerment. It's about capitalizing on insecurities while pretending to have moved past them. And here's where things start to make even more sense. Clara didn't just talk about her flat chest, she built her entire brand around it. It wasn't until she started posting videos focusing on this one insecurity that she went viral. That's when the views skyrocketed, when her channel took off, and when she became a social media sensation. So of course she's not going to try to gain weight, why would she? Her entire identity as an influencer is tied to being that girl. The one who's ultra-thin, flat-chested, and different from the typical beauty standards. The moment she gains weight, the moment she no longer fits the image she built her brand on, is the moment her appeal starts to fade. That's exactly why she despises the idea of gaining weight. It's not just about her personal preferences, it's about maintaining the thing that made her famous in the first place. And while that might work for her now, the way this is heading, it's not looking good. Because at some point, chasing clout over reality always comes crashing down. If Clara doesn't take a step back and start seeing things for what they really are, instead of what keeps her audience engaged, her downfall won't just be a controversy or a hit to her reputation, it will be disastrous. And just when you thought Clara's hypocrisy couldn't get any worse, this was the moment it stopped being just contradictions and turned into something far more disturbing. Up until now, she had been exposed as someone who didn't practice what she preached, a fake body positivity advocate, a self-proclaimed feminist who didn't actually stand for equality. But after this video, her content took a massive turn and revealed the darkest side of herself. Clara has always presented herself as a feminist, consistently advocating for women's rights, fighting oppression, and promoting equality. However, in one particular clip, she didn't just contradict these values, she exposed a deep-seated disdain for men. In the video, she casually joked about ignoring domestic violence against men, not just dismissing it, but outright laughing at the idea, as if male victims of abuse were nothing more than a punchline. There was no concern, no regret, no acknowledgement that something was wrong. She found it funny. And here's the real kicker. If the situation were reversed, if the victim had been a woman instead of a man, do you think Clara would have stayed silent? Absolutely not. She would have been outraged. She would have made a dramatic post about how domestic violence is never okay, about how we should always stand up for victims. But because the victim was a man, she didn't care. In her mind, abuse is only a problem when it happens to the right gender. And this isn't just ignorance. This is dangerous. And this isn't just ignorance. This is dangerous. She's not just turning a blind eye to domestic violence, she's promoting the idea that it's okay when men are the victims. That if a man is getting abused, it's something to joke about, not something to stop. And the fact that she never deleted the video, that just makes it even worse. Because leaving that video up after all the backlash, after all the criticism, after watching your own audience turn against her, that tells you everything you need to know. She meant every word. She wasn't just making an offhand joke, she genuinely believes that this is okay. And when someone with a massive platform like her starts pushing ideas like this, it's not just hypocrisy, that's outright cruelty. At the end of the day, Clara's story isn't just about one influencer getting exposed. It's about what happens when someone builds an entire career on deception. She sold herself as a body positivity icon, yet she starves herself. She claimed to promote self-love, yet she's obsessed with validation. She preached feminism, yet she laughed at male abuse victims. And every time the mask slipped, instead of owning up to her contradictions, she doubled down. But here's the truth. Clara's carefully curated persona is crumbling, and the people who once admired her are finally seeing her for what she really is, a fraud. No matter how many aesthetic vlogs she posts, no matter how many self-love pep talks she gives, the damage is already done. She's lost credibility, she's lost trust, and sooner or later, she'll lose relevance. Because if there's one thing the internet never forgets, it's hypocrisy. And Clara Dao, she's just another name on the ever-growing list of influencers who fumbled their own legacy.